What's up, dudes and dudes? It's here, and my name's Seth, and we are back here with some more Trove. Now today, oh man, we're going to be talking about the best gems that you can farm for, as well as a very special secret that we discovered about your gems, and how you can actually augment them past 100%. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, and I didn't actually know about this when I made my gem augmenting video. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the gold, silver, and bronze stats as well, because we did actually discover a few more things about them, and just... I really hope that this ends up making sense to you folks out there watching, because I know that when I put my augmenting video out, it was a bit confusing. So I'm going to try and do my best to actually explain it in a little bit more detail. So first of all, we're going to be talking about stellar gems only. And we're going to be talking about the power rank on them, the stats on them that you're going to be farming for, and just how augmenting actually works as a whole, as well as the different stat slots, because there's 3 of them that are going to end up being on a gem, and how those can end up actually generating. So first and foremost, you're going to be actually farming for gems that have the most power rank, and potentially for a lesser gem, you're going to want to find one that is 2-star and has all 3 stats available. And for an empowered gem, you're looking for one that has 3 stars and all 3 stats available. Again, only stellar gems. That's all we're talking about here, because as far as perfect gems are concerned, you're not going to be able to force a radiant one up to like stellar or anything like that. So of course that is not any of our concern. Now, as far as the augmenting is concerned, this is where things get a little bit interesting. I want to give a huge shout out to my man Merc _, because we actually kind of discovered this together by testing it out, is that he actually was noticing that one of his gems that he had a little bit more power rank than mine did. If you notice in my gem augmenting video, when I showed off all of my different gems and stuff like that, some of them were actually missing maybe 1 or 2 PR compared to some of the other gems that I ended up having, right? But now you're going to see that all of these are going to evenly have the same amount of power rank, because to our surprise, you can actually force any gem to being perfect power rank. And what power rank is going to actually determine in Trove, and why it's so important, is because depending on the power rank of a gem, like let's say on an empowered gem, it has like 1.3 thousand power rank once it's fully maxed out or fully leveled up, right? That means that each of these stats right here for the augmenting are going to end up generating 70%, 90%, maybe 50% at the lowest, if that, and then compare that to another gem of the same quality that's going to end up having 1.3 thousand power rank, and then suddenly the only difference that you're going to see is each of the percentage values of the augmenting is going to be that much lower. You might see one at 20%, 30%, 50%. So essentially, what higher power rank means for gems is that you're going to have to get less focuses, like focus items, to actually augmenting your gems, right? Crazy. I know that the power rank actually determines that. However, it means that gem farming got a lot less complicated for pay-to-win players, and for free-to-play players, it's just going to take an absurd amount of time to actually end up augmenting your gems all the way, because the Bound Brilliance are time-locked. Yup. So what that means is that the higher PR means that your gem is going to take a lot less focuses to end up maxing out. So for a free-to-play player, that's what you're farming for. If you're pay-to-win, of course, it's not going to end up mattering, but it does mean that you're going to end up spending less money to fully max out your gem. Now, let's talk about the different stat values of each of these slots as well, because there was a little bit of confusion when I was talking about the gold, silver, and bronze stats. I think a lot of people were actually getting mixed up with the gold, silver, and bronze focus items. So I'm talking more specifically, this stat right here, this maximum health at 19,000. That right there is what I am imagining as being a silver stat value, right? So work with me here, because this is pretty much the end game of Trove. As opposed to this right here, the magic damage generated with 8,000. 8,000 magic damage or physical damage is going to also end up being a silver stat. I know, it's absolutely crazy, right? And the 150% to crit damage is going to be the gold value stat. Now, work with me here, because I know it's a little bit confusing, but I want to give a huge shout out to Blastorelia. I hope I'm actually saying that right, or is it Blastorella or something? They ended up actually sending me a document that I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can actually check and see which stat values are going to end up generating as the gold, silver, bronze, and platinum stats. So as you're leveling up your gems, and I'm not talking about augmenting, just leveling them in general, for every 5 levels, they're going to end up generating towards one of the stat slots. Right? So you can actually have a gem at level 25 that is going to end up generating a couple times on the same slot, which is going to actually make it a platinum stat. So, again, I really, really hope that this is actually going to make some sense to all you folks out there, because, like, for example, this magic damage right here at 13,000, let's take a quick look at the document right here. That means that we actually generated a couple level ups on our gem that actually went to magic damage. So we've got 13,790 right here, which is the platinum stat value, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can keep that in mind, when you're actually leveling up these gems and stuff like that. That's why you actually see my crit damage on this gem is only at 77%, which that is going to end up being the bronze stat value. And then the hit percent is also going to be at 7.7, which means that that is also the bronze stat value. We didn't end up generating any silver stat because a lot of it went into the magic damage, thus making it a platinum value. I know it's a little bit confusing, but the reason why this is very, very important is because, let's just say for a gem like this right here, I'm going to try, like, normally this stat value right down here, this stat slot, I should say, with 49,000 health. 49,000 health, if you refer to the document, again, that I put in the description, and hopefully they don't end up deleting it after I put it in the description or anything like that. But 49,000 max health is going to end up being the platinum value. So this generated for crit hit for me, while this slot up here where the crit hit is now actually generated as magic damage. So I just kept using re-rollers over and over and over again to get this slot to end up being crit hit instead. Did I say crit damage 2 seconds ago? I meant crit hit. Because then I can put my magic damage onto this slot, thus giving it the platinum, and thus giving me a lot more damage, and then I don't really have to worry about the crit hit, right? It's the same as how with this gem right here, I mean, I have to look and try to calculate and figure out which of these is going to end up giving me more stats overall. Do I actually want to bother re-rolling this into crit hit, or do I want to try and get my magic damage up there instead? Because these slots on the gems are going to be very important while going to also be completely random. The point is that you're trying to get like a gem like this, for example, where the crit hit is at 9%. The critical damage is 143, and then the magic damage or physical damage is at 13,000. That's pretty much going to be the best that you can end up getting for a gem, because you're going to want the gold or platinum stat slot to just be raw damage, and then silver, if possible, is going to end up being crit damage. And then if you've got fully maxed out augmented gems, you're going to be right at home and actually end up having probably a little bit over 100% crit hit with some of the character classes, but for all the others, you're going to have maybe 80-90% crit hit for having all of your crit hit take up the bronze slot. Now, that said, the gems are completely random, so sometimes you're going to end up getting something like this where it's at 9% for the crit hit rather than one of the other gems that we've got, like right here, where this is the actual bronze stat at 7%. Again, I hope this ended up making sense to all of you folks. This was kind of a little bit more intensive video of explaining how you actually farm for the perfect gem. So again, just to kind of reiterate, max PR on a gem is going to end up making you take less focus items to actually augment the gems up, while you're still going to end up farming for ones that have all 3 stats. It doesn't matter if it's perfect stats, which is going to, of course, be magic or physical damage, crit damage, and crit hit, because of the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze stat slots that you're going to be kind of re-rolling and randomizing as you level up those gems and see which ones you actually end up generating. That's why the stats on the gems themselves are not nearly as important, because now we are going to be actually randomizing them to being the perfect stat values that we actually want, right? Which is going to be as much raw damage as possible, crit damage at second, and crit hit at the third. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully I rectified and ended up explaining a little bit more coherently how the gem system ends up working as far as augmenting is concerned. Again, I am still going to have my gem augment tutorial because that explains how the gem augmenting works in general, but I feel that this video was definitely required because of how we ended up actually discovering how important power rank is on a gem as far as all of the, as far as all that is concerned. Because the cool thing too, if I didn't already say it at the beginning of the video, is that any gem, even if they have the lowest power rank possible, you can force it to having maximum power rank. So it doesn't really matter if you have a low PR gem or a high PR gem. Again, all that's going to determine is how much augmented you're going to have to actually end up doing. So that makes the gem system a whole lot less confusing than what we originally thought it was. Again, big shout out to Merc, because he ended up actually figuring out that this is the funny thing, that when I went to my gems that weren't actually the maximum amount of PR, I went through each of the stats one at a time, and some of them that said that they were at 100% were actually still able to be improved. So if you've got maxed out gems, you're a complete pay-to-win player, a freak like me, you've got your maxed out gems, but you're sitting there scratching your head thinking, why don't I have the same power rank as some of these other people that have like 14 more than me? That's why. Go through each of your gems, go through each of the different stat slots, and guaranteed you're going to see, even though it's at 100%, one of the stat slots is going to be able to be improved upon, because for some dumb reason, the devs seem to completely overlook the fact that these are on not solid 1% values. They're actually at 0.0 values. So you can actually have a gem that says it's at 100% when the reality is it's actually at like maybe 99.8% as far as the augment is concerned, but the game will only recognize it at 100%. So you can actually augment it past 100% technically because of that, which is absolutely ridiculous. And in that case, you're just going to want to use your brown focuses again, not your silver or your golds. You definitely don't want to waste those on those slots. In any case, again, thank you so much for watching, folks. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content, as well as building up loyalty points for my merch store. Links are in the description for that. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm sure somebody's going to be able to answer you. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.